Hello. This month I've introduced a set of Lime Sudoku puzzles to the site, both interactive and print varieties. I have been very slowly working on a set of tutorial videos for how to construct these puzzles, and in the meantime I've gotten the software up to a point where I can actually publish them. So I have published them. There is a GitHub repo if you want to see the code that produced these puzzles. I'm going to walk through some of the variety Lime Sudokus, which are my favorites, and I've currently been working through that first volume of puzzles so that I can get a sense of the overall difficulty levels. The puzzles come in several forms. When you go to Variety Lime Sudoku, there's a menu here. So there is a set of easy, mediums, and hards, which are classic puzzles. And the way the classic puzzles work is the finished puzzle will have 3 limes in each row, column, and 3x3 block. The clues, like the game Minesweeper, tell you how many limes are adjacent to the clued cell, and the clued cell never has a lime in it. So this 3, for example, has 3 limes next to it, and this one has 1, and so on and so forth. So the easy and medium and hard puzzles are basically exactly what they say. I will say that the hard puzzles are very hard, and they are harder than other puzzles of this type that I've encountered elsewhere online. So if you want a hard puzzle, I would suggest starting with the mediums first, and working your way up to the hards. The other 2 collections have mixed difficulty. So if you go to Jigsaw, you'll get puzzles with a jigsaw layout, and they start easy, and then around book 33 they go into the mediums, and then around book 66 they go into the hards. So each volume has 3 levels of mixed difficulties, and puzzles basically get gradually harder as you go. So I would suggest starting early. If you find them too easy, just go ahead by 10 books or so. And the same situation with the variety puzzles. Now for the variety puzzles, there are in each volume 2 planes, and then 2 center dot puzzles, 2 X puzzles that have diagonals, so 2 extra containers. In the center dot puzzles, there's 1 extra container, which is indicated by these darkened central squares, which contains 3 mines. Then in the diagonal puzzles, each diagonal contains 3 mines. Then the window puzzles, each grade window contains 3 mines. And as I explained in my video for solving Krazydad Sudoku, there's actually 9 extra containers when this window layout is used. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. Then there's 2 jigsaw puzzles, and then 2 jigsaw plus windows, which are the best ones. So I'm going to go back to puzzle number 1 from book 10, and I'm just going to solve 1 of each type, starting with this one, which we're going to forget the solution to. So the first thing I usually do on these is I look for a clue that has only, like a 3 that only has 3 open neighbors, so where the number of open neighbors is equal to the clue, in which case the mines are forced. And that is the case with this 3 here. And now that I have 3 mines in this row, I can clear out the remaining cells in that row. This 2 already has its 2 mines, so we can clear its other neighbor. This 3 only has 1 remaining place to place a mine. Are there any others? Here's a 3 that only has 3 places to put a mine. Now this 3 has its 3 mines, so we can clear its neighbors. This 1 has its mine. So whenever I look at these clues, I'm looking at the entire square that the clue sits in, which is where its neighbors go. This column is now finished. This container is finished. This container is finished. Now this column is finished. This 2 only has one remaining place to put a mine, and now this container is finished. This 4 needs 2 more mines. They're going to go here, and that will complete this column, so I can get rid of that cell. Now, this 3, it's still a little ambiguous, but I can see here that this row only has 3 places to put a mine, finishing it. That finishes the 2. That finishes the central container, finishes this column. Finishes the 3, finishes the upper container. I'm going to be saying finishes a lot. I hope that doesn't make you giggle. 1, 2. So there's going to be 1 here because of these 2 limes here, and there's going to be another 1 there to finish out the 4, and then that forces a lime there. This row is finished. That completes the 1. This column, and this column is also finished. The 2 only has 2 neighbors now. That completes this column here. I think we're just about done. That completes that, completes that, completes that, and the puzzle is done. Yes. So that's a classic layout Lime Sudoku. Let's go. There'll be 1 more of those in each book, and then a center dot puzzle. So again, in the center dot puzzle, there'll be 3 limes in each of these 9 grayed out center squares, in addition to the rest of it. So again, I'm going to look for clues that have exactly the right number of neighbors. Here's a 3 that does. Here's a 3 that does. This 2 is finished. Row is finished. This 2 can be finished. Notice how the finished clues are grayed out a little bit. Give you some feedback. I should probably gray them out a little more, don't you think? Maybe I'll do that. Okay. In these puzzles that have extra containers, you have to pay attention to the extra containers or you'll get stuck. I designed the puzzles so that if you ignore the extra containers, the puzzles are ambiguous. and this is the point in the puzzle where that has occurred. I think there may be 1 or 2 other things I can do, but I can see that in the center squares I now have 3 limes, and that means that all the other center squares can be cleared, and that gives us a good amount of progress that otherwise we weren't able to do. And so now, for example, I can complete this 4, and then this row, and the 2, and this column, etc. So we've unblocked it a bit by paying attention to the extra containers. So whenever you get stuck on the variety puzzles, remember to look at those. I can see here that this 4 is going to have a mine in 1 of these 2 cells. It needs 2 more limes, mines, whatever you want to call them. And so 1 of them has to go here. That'll complete out this row, which means those guys can be cleared. Then I can finish the 2 here. Oh, sorry, the 2's already finished. And good thing I put feedback in. Okay, this row is finished. Now, if you think you've been a little hasty, you can do what I frequently do, which is check the answer. If it says looking good, you're good to go. Keep going. And that's also the A key, if you have a keyboard, triggers that. the keyboard shortcuts are all shown with underlines on these commands. So check your answers frequently, especially when you first start. So I know that there's a lime forced here, which is going to be the third lime in this container, so we can clear out this one. And then this 4 is going to have 1, and then 2, 3, 4, so these can all be set. That allows us to finish the 3 here, and then this column, we can finish this container. That column is finished, so that goes there. And at this point, we've got our numbers almost done. This 2 is going to need a lime there, and then there'll be another lime here to finish out that row. Okay, it's going to be 2 there, 1 there. There's something very obvious I'm not seeing. You have probably seen it already and are yelling at me. There it is, the 2. Already only has 1 more place to put a lime, so that finishes out that. Then we can complete that column. We complete that, and at that point the puzzle is pretty much solved. Yeah. So moving on to the next puzzle, there'll be another center square, and then the first of our 2 X puzzles that have 2 additional containers, these long diagonals that are marked here. Again, I'm going to look for clues that have just the right number of open neighbors, like this 4. That completes this 1.
Someone was detected at your front door.
Apparently someone's at my front door. Cool. And now this row is finished. And let's see. I wonder who's at my front door. Anyway, this 2 can be finished. This 1 is now finished. This one now only has 1 place to put a lime. This column is finished. There's going to be 1 there. Okay, so this 3 is going to have a lime in one of these 2 squares to finish it off, and then that forces a lime here for this container. This 4 only has 4 neighbors. Very good. That finishes out this container. And now again, we have a situation where we probably want to start paying attention to our extra containers. And I can see on this long diagonal, there are now only 3 places to place limes, the one that we already used and these 2. So I'm going to use them. That'll help us make further progress. So again, you get stuck, look at the extra containers. This row is finished. We cannot yet do anything with the other long diagonal. It's got 3 openings and 1 lime, so we need to clear 1 more opening before we can finish that. This 3 is going to take 1 additional lime, which will be in this L shape. That will force 1 lime to go here. And so it'll be 1, 2, 3. That finishes the bottom row. We just cleared out one of those question marks on the diagonal, and so now I can add the remaining ones, and again I'm going to check my work. Yeah, he can be taught. Okay, this column is finished. This row is finished. Only 1 lime will go here because of this container already having 2. That'll force a lime here. The 2 can be completed now. That finishes that container. We can complete this row. This row is completed. We can complete this row, this column, this row, and that's the puzzle. So that's the X Lime Sudoku or diagonal Lime Sudoku. There'll be 2 of those. And then we finally get to the ones with the 4 windows, which are quite fun. And it looks like you get 4 extra containers, but you actually get 9. So just to quickly recap what I went over in the Krazydad Sudoku, in these 3 columns that contain these 2 gray windows, there's an additional container, which is the extra cells that are not part of the windows. Those will also contain 3 limes, as does the 2 windows. Same situation over here with these 2 windows and the extra cells. Same situation going horizontally with the extra cells, there and there. And finally, the remaining cells, the corners and center squares, form a container. And you will want to pay attention to all these containers. These windowed puzzles definitely will have a higher perceived difficulty for you initially because there's more context switching going on, I think, when you solve these. So I've got a 3 here that has 3 neighbors. Let's use that. There's going to be a mine forced here, which will be the last cell in this container, so I can clear this out. This one is finished. Now this window only has 1 place for its final mine, so that goes there. I can then finish out this 3. Okay, this 3 now only has 3 neighbors, open neighbors. This 2 is complete. This 1 is complete. It's got a line there. Now I can finish out that row and this container for that matter, and this column. So there'll be 2 limes here for that 2 clue and then 1 here. Okay, and now I can make use of those hidden containers because there's 3 limes here in the center and edge center cells. I can clear the borders and the center cells that are part of that same container. That allows me to finish this column. Now this container only has 3 places to put mines. Let's finish that out. This container already has its 3 mines, so we can clear this cell here. And in fact, much more simply, this container is finished, so we can clear it out. This 3 can now be completed, which completes a container in a row. I can see that there's going to be 1 lime here for this, the remaining lime for this column, which is going to force 1 more lime here, which will be the last lime in this gray window, so we can clear out these 2 cells. Of course, we can clear out these 2 cells anyway, because they're already there. I often notice the hard solve before the easy solve. This column is finished. This 2 is finished. That container is finished. This 2 could now be finished. I'm going to check my work. So far, so good. This 2 is finished. This row can be finished. This 3 can be finished. In this container, there's only 1 lime in these 2 cells, so it's going to be 1, 2, 3, which buys us nothing. Oh, but this row can be finished. Then this 2 will be finished down here, which allows us to clear that one. 1, 2, 3. This 3 can be finished. And now this 3 is finished. This column can be finished. And that's the puzzle. So there'll be one more of those windowed puzzles. And then we'll get to the first of our jigsaw puzzles. Again, I'm going to look for clues that have the correct number of neighbors. This 4 is solvable. You basically look for tight spots. That's usually where they're found. Now this 4 can be solved. I can see that in this container, there's already 2 limes, and a lime is forced here, both of which are next to the 1. So the 1's mine will be one of those 2 cells, and we can clear its other neighbors. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4, 5. Can't quite solve the 6 yet. Oh, I can finish out that row. That'll help me to finish out this 3. And now the 1 is done. And now this container can be finished. The 2's remaining neighbor can be done. That's the 1 there. Now I can clear out that. And now the 6 only has 4 remaining neighbors, which is what it needs. So we can finish out the 6. And then this column, this column. Now, a trick that I commonly use with jigsaw puzzles is looking at bumps. If you look along this line here, there's a little bump coming out here, and the bumps will always be complemented by a hole. And the number of mines, if you count all the bumped cells, the number of mines is the same as in the number of holes. And this is a simple case. If this had a mine in it, there would be only 2 mines in the remainder of this container, and so it would force a mine there. And since it's empty, then there are 3 mines along inside this container, and we can clear that cell. So you can, what's the word? It's not synchronized, but I will say you can synchronize your holes and your bumps. And feel free to put the correct word in the comments. Rectify, maybe? I don't know. This 3 is finished. Okay, I can see that this 4 needs 4 neighbors. It can get at most 1 from this column because it already has 2 limes. It can get at most 1 from this column because it already has 2 limes. And that means its remaining neighbors must be here. And I'm going to check my answer because that felt overly clever, but it was in fact true. And that also means that the cells that are parts of these columns that are not adjacent to the 4 can't be used, which forces the last cell in this container here. And so there'll be another lime there. Okay, and now I can see that this 5 over here has quietly gotten down to 5 neighbors, so we can finish that off. Now this 4 is finished, so I can finish that. Finish that row. There'll be 1 there. Finish this row. That's our 2. You can finish this shape, which finishes that row. Finish that row. This 2 is finished, so we can clear its neighbors. Again, you probably see something very obvious that I'm still missing. Oh yeah, the top row. There it is. These early books up through book 33, there will almost always be something obvious you're missing. They don't make use of super clever logic until you get past book 33 or so. And then things will get a little more subtle. And then when you get past book 66, more subtle still. I've been completing rows and columns without explaining what I'm doing, but hopefully you figured that out. And this column is finished, and that's the puzzle. So 2 plain jigsaws, and then the last 2 puzzles in each book are a jigsaw plus windows. Definitely the hardest in each book. And let's do it. So here's a 3 that has 3 open neighbors. That finishes the 1. That finishes this long cross-shaped container, which now enables us to finish this row, which finishes the 1. Again, we can take advantage of bumps here. The 2 bumps on either side of this long shape are going to match the 2 cells on either side of it, which have a mine and a not mine. So this will be a mine and a not mine. Of course, there was an easier way to see that, which is simply that the container was finished. Now, there's going to be 1 mine there to complete the 4. And then in this gray window, there needs to be 3 mines total, so that forces a mine here. Finish the 3. These jigsaw shapes often hide subtlety. So, for example, this rather tangled looking shape is finished. It only has 1 mine and 2 possibilities for its remaining mines. That completes the bottom row. Now I can complete the 2 and this row. Okay, in this row, there will need to be 2 mines to finish out this gray container, which will finish out this row, so we can clear that cell. This 3 is going to need 3 mines, all of which, including the one it already has, they'll all be contained inside this container, and we can clear the remaining cell. Okay, here's another bump situation. Oh, it's because this container is finished. So, yeah, I was looking at these 2 bump cells which match these 2, but the container was finished anyway. And now we can finish this container, this gray window. Okay, I think this logic is correct. This 3 needs 2 cells that will go along these 3. And this 3 needs 1 that's going to be along these 2. And that's going to complete this row. So I think I can clear those 3 out. Checking my work. Yeah. Okay. This column is finished. That completes this 2. Now we can complete this 3. The 4 is now finished. Complete this row. Now this 3 is finished, as is this container, as is this column. Now this hidden container can be completed. The 2 here will get 1 additional cell, or 1 additional lime here. That forces a lime in one of these 2 cells for this container, which means I can clear out the remaining ones in this column. This column is finished. This container can now be finished, which finishes the 2, which finishes this column. So for this window here, there's going to be 1 lime here, the last remaining one in this column, the one that we already know about. 1, 2, 3. So for this column, it's going to be 1, 2, 3. That completes the top row. Now we can complete the 2 in the second row. We can complete the final column. We can complete this 3. It's already done. Complete this row. Complete that container. And that's the puzzle. So that's variety Lime Sudoku. I hope you enjoy them. I think they're a lot of fun. And I think if you go through them sequentially, while the difficulty does get quite hard, I think you'll probably develop the skills you need as you go along. That seems to be what's happening for me as I go through them. So enjoy the puzzles. See you next time.